Today's topic is how to convert a more than type distribution to a less than type distribution. Now what you're given is a more than table, which is profit in lakh rupees. You're given more than or equal to 5 and so on, and these are the number of shops. Now in the question, it will never be specified whether this is frequency or cumulative frequency. So there is some advice I would like to give you. Whenever you have a more than table or a less than table, please for your own sake write down cumulative frequency over here. So when you copy down the table, you're writing down cumulative frequency. Now that you know this is cumulative frequency, when you're converting this into a less than type, you first convert it into a normal table. Now why do we need to convert it into a normal table? Sometimes questions of the type come where they give you a more than data and they ask you to find out the median using the formula. For using the formula, you need a normal table with normal class intervals. So we are first going to learn how to convert it into a normal table, and then I'm going to tell you how to convert it into a less than table. Now let us look at these numbers over here. When I say it is more than, if you remember I told you when it is more, you have to take the opposite, which is less. So these are the lower limits. So these are the lower limits. From here you can determine the class size. The class size here comes out to be 5. So here when I say more than or equal to 5, all of these observations, this is the total number of observations which are more than 5. Here you see that the smaller number is at the end, larger number is at the top. That means you have been adding from bottom to top to get this total. So the first thing you do is convert this into normal class intervals. So we write down over here, this is profit in lakh rupees, but now we are converting it into a normal table. This is the first lower limit, class size is 5. So this is 5 is to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35. Now the last one is more than or equal to 35. That means you have observations which are more than 35. Now they could have been 35 to 40, they could have been 35 to 50 also. So here the last one can be written as more than or equal to 35. Then we write down number of shops. We are now finding out the frequency. For the frequency, we start by writing the smaller number which is at the bottom, which is 3, and we start subtracting backwards. So this is 7 minus 3, which is a 4, 10 minus 7, which is a 3, 14 minus 10, which is a 4, 16 minus 14, which is a 2, 28 minus 16 is a 12, and 30 minus 28 is a 2. So you have obtained the frequencies from the cumulative frequencies. So it is very important that you know how to convert a more than table into a normal table. This table now can be used for finding the median by the formula. Now the question said convert the more than table into a less than table. So you first convert a more than table into a normal table, and from the normal table you convert it into a less than table. Now when you want to convert it into a less than table, we know in a less than table we take the opposite, which is the upper limit. So the upper limits are these. So here the upper limit is 10. So less than 10 it is 2. Less than 15 you would start adding from top to bottom. We've already discussed how to convert a normal table into a less than table. So here you can proceed the same way. As regards the last one, supposing you want 30 to 35 and here you have more than or equal to 35. Now this class interval will now be considered as 35:40 because in a less than table you required the upper limits. We then move to how to convert a less than type distribution to a more than type distribution. So for this again we need to learn how to convert this into a normal table with normal class intervals. Now let us look at the table. This is below 20, below 25 and so on till below 60. Instead of below, the word less will also be there. So just means the same. You have the number of policy holders which are 2, 6, 24 till 100. Again, if you see that the smallest number is here, the greatest number is over here. Whenever you have a less than table or a below table, that means this is the cumulative frequency. So if you write it, it is always better for you. Now when I take a below 20 or a less than, I know in a less than this is supposed to be the upper limit. Also, let us try to determine the class size. Here if we look at the values, the class size is 5. Here when I had a below 60 means all the observations less than 60 were 100. Again, this is the cumulative frequency because all the observations are less than 60. Now, when I have already determined that the class size is 5, since this is the upper limit, the previous lower limit for this class, was it 15 or not? So here you have a choice of taking the first interval as this only. So now we are converting it into a normal table. This is age in years. This is number of policy holders, which is now the frequency. The first one we can take as below 20, then the next class interval is 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 to 50, 50 to 55, 55 to 60. We end here because this is the last upper limit over here. Now the total has been done from top to bottom. So we start by writing the smaller number at the top and then we subsequently keep on subtracting. 6 minus 2 is a 4, 24 minus 6 is an 18, 45 minus 24 is a 21, subtract this is a 33, this is an 11, this is a 3, 6 and a 2. So you obtain the frequencies from the cumulative frequencies. You have the table with the class intervals and the frequency. So if you're asked to find out the median using the formula, you have the class intervals with you and you have the frequencies. Now, if you have to convert this less than type of distribution to a more than type distribution, now from the normal class intervals, you can convert this data into a more than type of data like we've already discussed earlier. When I take a more than type of data, you need the lower limits. Now for this first one, for purposes of converting it into a more than type table, we would have taken the first class interval as 15 to 20. So this is how you change the more than type of data into a normal table, and into the normal, from the normal table you can convert it into a less than type table. Similarly, you have a less than type table, you convert it into a normal table, and then you can convert it into a more than type table. Also, for purposes of mean and median, mean and mode also, they could have given you this kind of a distribution. For purposes of that, you need the normal table. So you should know how to convert these type of tables into a normal table, and then from the normal table you can find any of the mean, median or mode using the formula.